Bitcoin offers two things that you don't get anywhere else. Number one, you get guaranteed increase in purchasing power, mathematically guaranteed increase in purchasing power against everything else. Every fiat money, gold, property, old masters art, cars, stamps, coins, whatever. Bitcoin is guaranteed to increase purchasing power against everything. Or another way to say that is everything goes to zero against Bitcoin. And the other thing that Bitcoin offers that is rare, almost unique to Bitcoin, it might be completely unique to Bitcoin, and that is instant liquidity, 24/7, 365. So the reason you see a lot of more volatility in Bitcoin than you do other assets is because, a lot of times the assets are over the weekend, they're closed. There's no market at all. And the only way people can move value around is through Bitcoin. And so there might be less liquidity on that particular day or that particular hour. So you get some volatility. But nevertheless, you have guaranteed liquidity. So you have some volatility, but you also have guaranteed liquidity and a guaranteed increase in purchasing power. So those who decry the volatility as a reason not to own Bitcoin haven't really thought about it.
In today's video, Max Keiser delves further into the disintegration of the fiat currency system, characterizing it as a 40-year-old extend and pretend game. He describes how the US dollar has gained a brief edge as the world's reserve currency due to a steady drop in interest rates throughout the world. With this status, the US has been able to control enormous amounts of financial power, influencing international monetary policy and preserving a fictitious sense of stability. Keiser, though, believes that the end is in sight. Keiser cautions that inflation would run out of hand and cause society to collapse if the US felt obligated to print trillions of dollars to pay off its own debt. Keiser forecasts a sharp move toward alternative assets like gold and Bitcoin amid the chaos. He predicts that while Bitcoin might quickly go to $350,000, gold could reach $7,000 or even $99,000 per ounce. The only safe havens will be assets like gold and Bitcoin when fiat currencies completely collapse. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and enable post notifications for additional advice from Max Keiser and other financial experts.
The ability to extend and pretend, the fact that interest rates have been going down for 40 years, that the world reserve currency gives the U.S. enormous leverage all over the world to dictate financial policy, to, again, extend, pretend, to get the U.S. has the dollar. All of these tricks that have been used. And now the CBDC is just another chapter and is trying to extend the life of the dollar. But I think that it's the end game. It's the end game. And once you have that global awakening that, the dollar is actually the bolivar. It has the same value as the Venezuelan bolivar. Why do we own it? Why are we buying the debt? Why is Japan going to keep buying this debt? Why is China going to keep buying this debt? We created the BRICS. We have the BRICS. We have our own currency soon. We don't trade in the dollar that much. We simply walk away from the dollar. And that kind of consciousness can be sudden, and it can happen very, very quickly. So suddenly the dollar has no bid. The U.S. has to buy its own, has to monetize its own debt in ways that are in numbers that are historically unprecedented. They won't call quantitative easing anymore, which is just a fancy name for debt monetization of your own money. They'll just have to come right out and say, we got to print 100 trillion or more to buy our own debt. And then, of course, the inflation goes completely bonkers and the society collapses. And this is the game that they're playing. They are literally playing the game of chicken with the indisputable fact that the rate of money printing and debt accumulation happening right now will inexorably lead to debt spiral and death, fiat money death. There's just no question about this. This is the game that they're playing. So at that point, you have gold suddenly goes from whatever price it's at to it jumps 50%. Let's say gold at that point's 3,000, 4,000 an ounce. Gold immediately goes to 7,000 or 8,000 or 9,000 an ounce. Bitcoin immediately goes from, let's say, 85, 90,000 or 110,000 per coin. It immediately goes to 300,000, 350,000 overnight. There's no market. There's no bid. It's the cosmic moment. It's when if you weren't paying attention, you will find yourself on the wrong side of history suddenly. And there's no way to get back in. You won't be able to go backwards. It's the Bitcoin blockchain is immutable. There's no rewriting. That's it. TikTok, next block. You are not in this block, right? Block number 1,432,000 or whatever. It'll be the ARC block. Those are in that block, and there'll be everyone who's not in that block. But whoever's in that block, their DNA will go forward. Who's ever not in that block, their DNA will not be going forward. So it's a really interesting game. It's game theory, of course, and it's consciousness bending. People really have to think differently to comprehend the scope of what's happening here. And it's been, particularly in the US since World War II, it pays to be dumb, right? Stupidity trades at a premium in American culture. Because if you think too much about it, you would not do the things that others are doing that have allowed them to aggregate certain position in society of influence, wealth, and power, right? I don't want to go spend too much time on that. So I think that the catch-up of Bitcoin to gold can happen very quickly based on what I just said. In other words, there's a huge tectonic shift. So you have these big price gaps. And that's how we get there. And can get there quickly. Well, CBDCs or central bank digital currencies are just an extension of the fiat money world, right? There's nothing new there. It's just more fiat money. And the same thing with altcoins. All altcoins, whether it's Ethereum or any of the other 20, 30, or 40,000 altcoins, they are an extension of fiat money. They're not part of the Bitcoin universe. And so as such, they're not offering anything new in terms of competing with Bitcoin. So I don't see them succeed in any way. CBDCs are just an extension of the problems that we have already. It's just more centralization. So centralization of the fiat money world and the central banks causes all the problems, and CBDCs are an attempt to make it even more centralized. So they're going in the wrong direction. They're doubling down on centralization, which of course means that they are expediting their own failure. I think one of the interesting design attributes of Bitcoin is that it's designed to be attacked. And the more you attack it, the greater the hash rate goes up, and therefore the greater the security, and therefore the greater its use as a store of value. So it's a very interesting situation where Bitcoin really is designed to get attacked in this sense. If nobody hated Bitcoin, it wouldn't be as successful as it is today. We need people to hate Bitcoin and try to attack Bitcoin to make it obvious that it's immutable, indestructible, and on its permanent vector. It's just we're at that phase where you have the darkest moment before the dawn, right? It's the darkest before the dawn. You have that blackness, the black period before the Big Bang. This really echoes the Big Bang. I think it's the Bitcoin Big Bang. It's the Big Bang of consciousness that's coming. And that's where I see CBDCs. I don't see them having any material impact whatsoever. It's just the last gasp of a dying fiat money mentality.
One of the most important aspects of Bitcoin, as noted by Max Keiser, is its extraordinary resilience to attacks. He demonstrates that the game theory-driven design of Bitcoin, which actually gains from resistance, is what gives it its durability. Bitcoin's hash rate rises in response to increased attempts to compromise it, enhancing its security and making it an even more dependable store of value. According to Keiser, this explains why, in spite of constant opposition from governments, central banks, and the established financial system, Bitcoin has not only endured, but developed. He believes that we are about to witness a significant shift and likens the current state of Bitcoin to the darkest hour before dawn. Keiser claims that this change will reshape the world economy and be comparable to a big bang in the financial awareness. In his opinion, centralized systems like CBDCs will fail due to inherent inefficiencies, and Bitcoin will ultimately triumph. Please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more insights.
So central banking, which is approximately a 300-year-old experiment, as well as the nation state, which is, you could say, approximately the same a number of years as an experiment in governance. These two are coterminous. They will both collapse at the same time as societal models. And we are now entering into the Bitcoin era and El Salvador. So this is the future. I'm living in the future when I'm living in El Salvador. And El Salvador now is like buying Bitcoin back in 2011 at $1 or $10 or $100. You get El Salvador at the price you deserve. Bitcoin is a peaceful revolution. And so it's similar to the Christian revolution in a sense. You know, the message of Christ was that love can create change and progress, and in a way that is fundamentally alters the course of human history. And Bitcoin is similar in that sense. Bitcoin offers two things that you don't get anywhere else. Number one, you get guaranteed increase in purchasing power, mathematically guaranteed increase in purchasing power against everything else. Every fiat money, gold, property, gold masters, art, cars, stamps, coins, whatever. Bitcoin is guaranteed to increase purchasing power against everything. Or another way to say that is everything goes to zero against Bitcoin. And the other thing that Bitcoin offers that is rare, almost unique to Bitcoin, it might be completely unique to Bitcoin, and that is instant liquidity, 24/7, 365. So the reason you see a lot of more volatility in Bitcoin than you do other assets is because, you know, a lot of times the assets are over the weekend, they're closed. You know, there's no market at all. And the only way people can move value around is through Bitcoin. And so there might be less liquidity on that particular day or that particular hour, so you get some volatility. But nevertheless, you have guaranteed liquidity. So you have some volatility, but you also have guaranteed liquidity and a guaranteed increase in purchasing power. So those who decry the volatility as a reason not to own Bitcoin haven't really thought about it much. You know, it's particularly if they look at the dollar and say, well, there's no volatility in the dollar. And I'm like, that's true, but you have a mathematically guaranteed decrease in purchasing power with the dollar. So, you know, that's part of the game of the dollar, is that it looks stable, but it's leeching value every second of every day from your hard work is being leached away. Bitcoin is the opposite in that you are gaining purchasing power for your hard work every single day. And yes, the price vacillates in fiat money terms is an indication of the weakness of fiat money. It has nothing to do with the weakness or relative strength of Bitcoin. One Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin.
Max Keiser contends that after around 300 years of dominance, both the nation state and central banking are now on the decline. He predicts that all of these antiquated systems will fail at the same time, paving the way for a brand new Bitcoin-dominated age. In this scenario, El Salvador stands in for the first nation to welcome the new Bitcoin age. Much like purchasing Bitcoin in the beginning was a revolutionary step. Keiser compares Bitcoin to a peaceful revolution, similar to the impact of the Christian Revolution, which altered human history through a message of love and progress. He believes Bitcoin offers unique advantages. Keiser also dismisses concerns about Bitcoin's volatility, arguing that it is a natural byproduct of its high liquidity and the inherent weakness of fiat currencies. He contends that while fiat currencies may appear stable, they are continuously losing value, making Bitcoin's volatility a minor trade-off for its long-term benefits of purchasing power and liquidity. Ultimately, Keiser emphasized how the domination of Bitcoin is being made possible by the demise of conventional banking systems. Draw attention to the special advantages that Bitcoin provides, such as its perpetual liquidity and assured purchasing power, and refute any worries about its volatility by drawing a comparison with the inherent flaws of fiat currencies. Urge viewers to think of Bitcoin as a fundamental change in the world of finance, rather than just as an investment. Until next time, happy investing.